Hello, everyone. This is the Aya Om podcast. I'm your host, Aya, and today we're talking about my holistic alignment coaching system. Now, it's a guided journey, and I'm going to take you through a number of the different principles paired with mudras to help guide this journey of mind and body. Now, a mudra is a hand seal. The hand seal helps to guide the energies in certain ways, and the intention of the mind helps us to stabilize a mental concentration. So there's a number of different alignments in the system that help to guide your mind and help you to orientate towards different parts in the body for more balance and harmony. I teach this and I work with this to help guide and align my energies so that I make better decisions. So let's start at the top of the system. This is the One Love. One Love is paired with a mudra known as Anjali Mudra, where the hands come together in the prayer position with all the fingers touching. Now we begin the process here of orienting towards our one love, our highest aspirations. This is a connection, so the heart and the mind are connected. This creates more coherence. So there's a directionality of anchoring your intention and your thoughts in alignment with the heart. And this system can be done in a number of seconds or as a longer process. So I'm going to guide you through it as the longer process. Here, there's an imagination element of looking into a projected future, perhaps, and looking into what you want to create. So when we connect with One Love, we're connecting with our dream process. And taking a few moments to begin to see what you want to create. An important part of a visualization process like this is to not only see it on some level, and not all of us are visual, so get a sense for in your inner sight, and then also to feel the feelings associated with the accomplishment of that goal. Now, for our little journey here, we'll stop there. We won't go too deep into that visualization, but know that you can spend as much time here, and this helps to build, it cultivates a certain energy that helps to align the system so that the decisions are aligned with this highest principle and relationship. Now, it's important to spend time consciously creating and visualizing and stepping into that to create the basic circuitry of what you're looking for in the nervous system, rather than having it as a projected future like the visualization. But what you want to experience is what you're currently experiencing, and feeling a level of satisfaction based on simply visualizing it, because it makes you happy, and having a quality where it's not something outside of this moment here, but you can feel that happiness that comes when you get to share your gift, and you can cultivate that emotion. You can cultivate that frequency that helps to attract what you're calling in. So you're creating the frequency that's a match, so that you're not out of alignment vibrationally with the future that you want. And the more time you spend, you consolidate those pathways in the nervous system. And this influences the subconscious, which is important, because the subconscious directs the conscious mind. And it's from the subconscious beliefs and orientations that direct your basic awareness. So when you rewire, you spend time visualizing and connecting with that dream, you're teaching the subconscious to seek out things that are in alignment with that dream process rather than what other subconscious processing is already built into the system. So this is dedicating time which signals to the nervous system, to the subconscious circuits, that this is important. This is our orientation. So we spend some time here anchoring in the one love, connecting with the wisdom of the heart. And then we switch the hands so they were in prayer position so that they're on their sides but still connected. Don't worry too much about the mudras. This represents the two fundamental forces, yin and yang. So in the alignment process, we have a moment to check in with the dream and the heart, and then we check in with the two forces. How can we check in with these two forces? One of the best ways is the breath. So taking a moment to observe inhaling and exhaling breath. So the way in which you breathe reflects what's going on in the nervous system. By changing the way you breathe, you can affect the nervous system tone. The nervous system deals with the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. So what that means is the nervous system has two tones, one more relaxing, one more stimulating. Depending on the way in which we show up to life, we might be more tilted, you could think of, towards one or the other, or a way of balancing them. Most people do run more sympathetic or more stimulated because of our busy culture. So it's important to have a process of regulating the nervous system. And this helps us in our dream creation, because once you've made that orientation towards your dream and you've cultivated some of the energy, some of the emotion, there's nowhere to go. So we don't want to rush, and we want to maintain that state, and we do that through our breathing process. So we've anchored the mind here, and then by maintaining the breathing process, we have an anchor also to that realm between mind and body, which is the breath. And we have this anchoring which helps to regulate the nervous system. This is the tool, this is the life force coming in that's animating the body and the mind. So the better your relationship is with the breath, the easier your whole life process is, and the manifestation and the accomplishment of your dreams. Now the breath is a relationship, meaning you don't always want to control the breath. There's a dance there, and breath witnessing is also really important. So in the dream orientation process, we've made a connection with the two fundamental forces working within us, and we have more control now over the regulation of the breath, body, and mind. Now each of the levels has a number of different associations. So when we check in with the two fundamental forces, we can go into a further process as to different areas in the life, different areas of the emotion. Are they balanced? We're not going to go through that whole process here, but know you can spend some time looking at the opposites between your work and your play, between your activity and your rest. And as you go through these, you can see where you're out of alignment, where you're tilted more towards the other, and it's a easy prescription for you to find more balance and harmony in your life. As we go to 3, we make what's called sword fingers. So we have the middle finger and index pointed up, and then the thumb touches the ring pad of the ring finger and pinky finger. We're going to make 2 of those. One points up towards the heavens and one points down towards the earth. Now the orientations here is 3. This is the realm of earth below, the middle plane where we exist, and the heavens above. This is a 3 forces approach from Qigong. We'll get a little bit more into that in a moment. And then there's also the association between the 3 types of choice. This system has been greatly influenced by one of my teachers, the holistic lifestyle coach, Paul Chek. And Paul Chek talks about 3 decisions that we can make in regards to our dream process. 1 is the optimal decision, 2 is the suboptimal, and then 3 is do nothing. So the optimal decision is the one we want to make. This is in alignment with our dream creation. And in general, this will help the most amount of people in and around you. The suboptimal is a decision that is typically more selfish, more self-serving, or it's not in alignment with the desired reality of what you want to create. The third is do nothing. And Paul Chek explains that sometimes doing nothing is the best thing you can do because you don't know where to go. So instead of moving forward out of alignment, you can take some time to slow down. But sometimes doing nothing means stagnation and not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So there's a balance there of when non-action is important for the orientation. But ideally, we're in the top part there, making the ideal, the optimal decision as often as possible. So coming back to the 3 realms, with the finger pointed down, this helps the awareness to sink down and to remember that we are part of the earth. The earth has a great consciousness to it, a life force. And then the orientation above is to Father Sky, to the awareness of the heavenly planes, of the whole solar system above you. And by taking some time to expand your awareness above and below you, and orienting towards the greater cosmos expands the mind. It's an orientation away from simply thinking in terms of ourselves, which is the middle plane, but connecting our awareness and be like, oh yes, we're a part of a vast galaxy and a living earth. This helps to influence the decision making. It puts that big picture way of thinking into the equation. And it's an orientation. It's an orientation for the nervous system. And as the nervous system is able to expand its awareness, it relaxes. Many people are in that sympathetic, higher stress tone. And as an animal, this creates a kind of tunnel vision. This creates certain qualities in the nervous system. And when we expand our awareness, activate our peripheral awareness, orientate above and below into our surroundings, this signals a kind of safety in the system, which creates that parasympathetic relaxation tone. So this is a great way to help to build that connection with Earth and know that you are supported in your dream creation process. The fourth is the 4 directions, and the mudra here is the thumb and then the middle finger touch. And this is placed kind of like a compass. So you would read it looking down, and this is a moment to orientate to the 4 directions. Once again, the nervous system loves this orientation, but it's also a symbolic way of orienting towards the 4 directions of mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And then you can apply the 2 forces principle. Are these areas in balance? The fifth, we make the 5 elements mudra, which is your thumb and your index touch, and then the other fingers are outstretched. We make 2 of these, one pointing up, one pointing down. The 5 elements. The 5 elements are related to 5 negative emotions. So in this part, the teachings are around the 5-element system of Chinese medicine. In this system, 5 yin organs are associated with 5 negative emotions and corresponding virtues. So let's go through the system. This is, of course, brevity on the complete intricate system of 5-element theory. We have a relationship with our liver, the color green, and the emotion that is processed by the liver in the Chinese system is the angers and the frustration. Once again, as this is a process, we could spend some time recognizing the things that are making us frustrated and angry at life, and then changing the orientation towards kindness for ourselves and those involved. Now, if you know the Qigong healing sounds, this would be something that I would offer if there is excessive anger in the system to help to clear that from the body. But for now, let's just move through the system and its orientations. Oh yeah, before we move on, the liver is associated with the wood element in our 5 elements. Coming into the heart, the element of fire, the color red, releasing the negative emotion of anxiety here. And as a check-in, seeing if we're holding any guarding or heaviness, if the breath feels spacious in the heart region. And then the shift of orientation of the mind is towards love and compassion. And then moving down to the spleen underneath the left side ribs. When you become aware of the organs, you can practice the Qigong inner smile. Kind of like smiling at a friend, but smiling inwardly at the organ system. Helps to relax the system. More blood flow, more health. So the spleen is associated with the negative emotion of worry. And then we cultivate the virtue of faith here. So in terms of your dream creation process, when you orientate your mind towards what you do want, it can bring up what the limitations are or the current constrictions in your life, which will be represented on another level emotionally and energetically inside of you. So what we do is we seek to know how that imbalance is manifested within us, and if there's an association between a certain limiting belief and an emotion, we want to have the tools to clear that. As I mentioned, the 6 healing sounds is one way to help to move some of that emotion, as well as different systems of breath work. So these are the things that I teach people, because we want the orientation and the alignment system that's nice and comprehensive, so that we're tracking all of these important areas of our life, and we want some of the tools. So this is what I help to empower people with, because the more they have tools connected with state regulation, the more they can keep themselves in what is known as a positive self-hypnosis, because the world distracts and changes the orientation, puts us in our fight or flight. Maybe we're acting out of emotion or control patterns. These all pull us off from our dream creation and the path of manifesting and creating, achieving all those things. So this orientation, the system, helps us to clear. So any negative emotion, we're on the spleen, any worry here can be cleared through a number of different tools. And when you look within, you're feeling as well. This is helping you to get a connection, a deeper connection of the mind into the body. Mind takes time to soak into the body. Much time. The more time, the more the mind soaks into the body. So take your time to allow the mind to soak into the body. This is one of the awarenesses that comes with regular meditation, and this is a kind of meditation. That it takes time for the mind to soak into the body, and there are many layers that become available, but only as we take the time to slowly allow the mind to come into the body. And we act more from our center as we do that, and rather from being up in our head. So we want to take the idea state, we want to take that kind of idea of what we want and then pull the awareness into the present to know that that's not outside of this moment here, but there is an orientation, and we don't want to create a lack or a chasing of something we don't have that's not already here. So that's why the emphasis is on state regulation and releasing the negative emotions, because they're part of the cycle of positive emotions. They're going to happen, especially if you're on the path of doing something that pushes you on and against your limitation. It's going to bring up negative emotions. So the more resilient we are, the more capable we feel of dealing with negative emotion, the more empowered our decision is. We'll make decisions that may incur more stress, which might be a part of the process, generally is a part of the process, always is a part of the process of achieving something great. So let's move from the spleen to the lungs. Lungs are associated with the, did I say the earth element is associated with the spleen? And then the lungs are associated with the metal element, the negative emotion of sadness. And then when we release sadness, inviting in compassion. Once again, these are orientations inside of the body. You can get to know if you're holding any kind of density, any heaviness that prevents the natural breath, the breath from feeling naturally expanded. Is there any felt sense of restriction? We can hold sadness and sorrows, grief, etc. in the lungs. 'Tis the season of autumn when I'm filming this, and the lungs are associated with the autumn. And it's fairly common for them to kind of do an annual purging of some grief and sadness as a therapeutic process for the psyche to be more balanced. This is true of all of the organ systems. They cycle through at different parts of the year. Then the kidneys. The kidneys are associated with fear as a negative emotion. They are the element of water, the color blue. And then as we release fear, we cultivate courage. So the virtue is not simply the opposite quality, but it's a quality that helps us to work with that negative emotion. So we're not just trying to become averse to what we don't want and what we do want. The orientation of the virtue is to orientate towards something that actually makes us more capable of feeling fear. And in that, the orientation isn't to move away from fear. Once again, part of the dream creation process will be moving towards fear, moving towards that orientation. So we develop a virtue. And by going through this in the meditation here, and by repeating it, we're saying this is our orientation, right? It makes sense, because the habit pattern reaction is to orientate away. So once again, we spend a little time, dedicated time, developing our orientation, and this will signal the nervous system and the behaviors. And over time, once again, it'll become more and more consolidated and habitual to act in this way, but it takes repeated practice. And this is the 5-element system that I've just shared with you. This is a great way to check in with the emotions you're experiencing associated with the body, so it's not just like a mental exercise, not simply based on the emotion exercise. It's a holistic way, connecting the mind and the body. 6 is next, and one of the orientations here is the 6 values. The mudra is the index finger and the thumb. They touch at the tip, and then you touch those 4 fingers together, and then the rest of the fingers are outstretched. So 6 fingers are up. I work with 6, you could think of them as inner qualities or virtues. And these are primary orientations. I orientate towards them every day in my morning. Of course, given any particular activity, we might be cultivating something else. But I like to teach people to work on a number of different values or virtues and to consolidate them, and then you can always continue to work on others for particular things. So my 6 are discipline, purity, equanimity, self-study, surrender, and humor. So I do this every morning, do this alignment process, and I check in with these values and virtues, and they're all things that I can be practicing in the moment. This is key. There's a shift in the moment. As soon as I say equanimity, I shift my mind into equanimity if it wasn't already. And this helps to, once again, to orientate the system, because it takes a lot of repetition to create the new nervous system pathways, because the old ones have a lot more momentum running through them. Conscious repetition of mental, emotional, and physical creates the new habit pattern. So the 6 virtues, and then the 7 chakras is next. The mudra is the left palm faces up at the level of the lap, nice and low there, and then the right hand is above the head, above the crown. This mudra helps to balance the 7 chakras. The 7 chakras have associations. One, it's a physical thing. We're orienting the awareness to call in alignment of the energy centers along the spine. And then the orientation at each of the chakra points is as follows: money, safety. Next, second center, relationships, sex, and emotional expression. The third center, power, particularly diet, exercise, and then any addictions, and then your place of occupation. 4, love, giving and receiving love, forgiveness. 5, the 5th center, communication and expression, orientation towards truth. 6, the 6th center. The 6th center relates to mind and psychic development. And then the 7th center, crown center, relates to the individual's relationship with the higher consciousness, the individual mind and the great mind. So once again, as a brief meditation, there might be a little check-in on each of these, or maybe just a checking in of the alignment of the chakras. as a deeper meditation process, there's awareness, okay, checking in financially. Is this area triggering for me? If there's a charge there, is something out of balance? How do I balance that? Very simple process. The wisdom is through going in and becoming aware. Because generally we know what we can do. We know some kind of action that can help balance it if we know where we're out of balance. Is it too much or too little? Where and why? So as we move to the second center, sexuality has to do with our sense pleasure. So are we balanced there? Is it excessive? Does it feel conscious or unconscious? Third center, diet and exercise. Are we eating too much, exercising too little, exercising too much, eating too little? Our place of occupation. Are we doing our work? Are we doing the work that we love? Too much, too little? The fourth center, giving and receiving love. Fairly self-explanatory. Do we have anyone we need to forgive? As we go through these, you may experience something. You may experience a kind of contraction in a certain area, or holding. This is the body speaking. Fortunately, not all of our bodies speak English in a very direct way, so they have a way of communicating and expressing. And by going through and checking in at multiple levels, connecting with multiple ideas, we can help to orientate the mind, and we will reveal any charges we have. Let's go to the fifth center, communication and expression, orientation towards our truth, our highest truth. Once again, as an orientation, habit pattern is not always towards truth. So by taking a moment to, okay, this is the orientation, it may also bring up, as a meditation process, what is out of alignment with our truth. This is one of the beautiful self-purging or self-cleansing ways of working with these meditations, is anything that's out of alignment comes up, generally to the forefront, so that we can deal with it. Sixth chakra has to do with the mind. Is the mind scattered? Is it one-pointed? Is it able to focus on the dream, or is there lower level distractions or orientations that need to be dealt with so that we can orientate towards what we do want to call into our life? And then what's your relationship with the all at the seventh center? With the higher consciousness, with the cosmos itself. Now, going through all of those, once again, can be done as quickly as you need to, but having some level of practice where you spend a little time going into them, then it allows the quick practices to be effective. Does that make sense? So I spend sometimes longer periods going through all of this, and that consolidates it in my system as a system of orientations, kind of like a complete program. And then when I simply just do the mudras, I can go through a lot of the information without going to each point with my mind in such a developed way. But I feel the shift. That's what's important. The shift is happening, and I can feel that. That's why I know it's working. So these are points of concentration, and we generally want to be at them, depending on which one they are. So we receive that point where it feels like we're coming into alignment. Like the system will feel best being in alignment. We cultivate that here, and then it's really clear when we go out of alignment, because we have that orientation of what feels like our fuck yes, of where we're living and acting from the place we want to, and we're taking time to really check in with how that feels at multiple levels in our organs, at a very deep level, and it becomes much clearer. So that's the 7 chakras. And then the last part of the system that I work with is to bring the hands up, kind of move them in a kind of a shaking motion, and it's a giving gratitude motion. It's an opportunity to give thanks. Opportunity to give thanks for the self, for the family, for the community, for the earth, for yourself, for going through this whole process and aligning yourself. And then finally we bring the hands back in Anjali Mudra, and that completes the prayer. You can complete with Om. Vibrating the body with the pranava is a great way to consolidate the energetic shifts that we've cultivated through the process. Beautiful. So that's the whole process. As I mentioned, this can be done quite quickly. There's a number of orientations. Connecting with the love, connecting with the breath, connecting with heaven and earth, connecting with the 4 directions, connecting with the 5 elements, connecting with your 6 values and virtues you want to cultivate in life, balancing the 7 chakras, giving gratitude, and then calling it all back into the wisdom of the heart. So the more that you have stability in your dream, the more that you have this felt sense, as I mentioned, like a self-hypnosis. This is like my mind, this is what I want to create and cultivate. There has to be a level of resilience, because the world in many ways is very distracting. It's very distracting, and people want to sell you things, and there are many people with needs, and if we allow too much of external influence to get into our mind, it will change our orientation away from what we want. And this isn't a selfish process of me. As I teach people the dream creation process, and as I've shared it here even, the optimal decision is the decision that you make, which is in highest alignment for the most amount of people. So you can trust that this isn't selfish when it's all you. You are the one who makes the decisions in life. And your orientation towards the good that you want to cultivate in life is something very sacred to protect. In yoga, if you practice yoga, typically you're known as a yogi or a yogini. In qigong, if you practice the inner arts, typically you're known as a cultivator. And I really like that, because we're always cultivating qualities of body and mind. We're cultivating energy through our practices. So in this practice, you're cultivating the body and the mind of the individual who's on the path that you want to create, to offer your gifts to the world. So this is the holistic alignment coaching process with mudras that I teach individuals. I'll be coming out with some videos and perhaps even teaching some classes where we can all get together and work on these as an active meditation together. Thank you for listening. Aya Om.